3. Rishi, Shahof!
So we chatted a little bit beforehand, and I've gotten to know literally hundreds of entrepreneurs and startup founders, and there's kind of this common link that I find with all of them, is that at some point early on they realized that they had to start an entrepreneurial story. So tell us about you, tell us about where you're from, what you were doing as a kid, and when you first realized you had that spark.
Okay, so my name is Rishi. Happy to be with you guys tonight. Try to make it as fun as possible. I'm from the western suburbs. I grew up in a town called Oak Brook. I've lived in this area all my life, except for some months I spent out in Iowa and in Ohio on a political campaign, and then some time I spent at college. Aside from that, I'm a Chicago kid. I think for me, I didn't think about the word entrepreneurship a lot as a kid, right? I didn't, maybe I knew the word, but I didn't classify myself as an entrepreneur. It's interesting, even back in 2006 when I was starting this company, ContextMedia, I didn't go to a lot of entrepreneurship events. We just didn't have nearly as many. We went to more industry events. And I think it's wonderful that this is now a recognized and noted thing that we're doing. We have resources in place to accelerate entrepreneurs. But from the time I was a kid, I think I had a zeal for a couple of things. One was a curiosity. I drove my mom crazy. You know, we'd go, whenever we were driving somewhere, Mom, how does that work? How does the car work? How does this work? How does that work? So I think there was a lot of curiosity to just dissect how things worked. Because if you can understand how something works, then the natural next question is, well, what if that was changed with it better? So I think curiosity was something that was there. And that sounds positive. We celebrate curiosity, but there can be some negatives too. I had challenged a lot of things. I had pretty bad grades in school. I had the most AP credit of anybody in the state the year I graduated high school. It helped me. But I was at the 50% mark of my high school on GPA. It was almost crazy. So, you know, it was a turbulent childhood from that standpoint, in the sense that I questioned a lot, and I didn't follow instruction well. But in the way in which it manifested itself in a business sense was, I think, three things. And I'll start with a fun, kind of inconsequential story, and then I'll end up with a real business I started. So that's fine. I did it. I was first year high school. So when I was a kid, you know, probably like 7 or 8, one day there was an art peddler who came knocking on our door, and this art peddler wanted to sell some art to my parents. I wasn't there watching this. My parents didn't buy the art. But I immediately thought, this is something that you can do. This is an accepted thing that you can go knock on a door and sell a painting for money, which, you know, I wanted lots of different things when I was a kid, and the explanation I was given as to why I couldn't have it was money. And so I figured, hey, well, money is something good to get, and I can make art, so this seems like a really great idea. So my parents leave, I'm on summer break, and I wake up the next day, I get my watercolor set out, and I start painting. You know, and before I finish, like maybe 4 or 5, I jump out, I'm eager, I start knocking on our neighbors' doors. And now, you know, they know me as the neighbor's kid. You know, sit there and give me like $1 for my art piece, 50 cents, whatever. So I'm really excited. I think I have a business cooking here. This is a thing. I start thinking, oh, how many paintings can I have? I come back inside, make a bunch of paintings. I go back out a little farther. By this time, some of the neighbors have called my parents. So my mom gets a phone call, she's in the office, and she calls my grandma, who was living with us, So my grandma was wearing like traditional Indian, she was wearing traditional Indian clothing with like a sari, starts chasing after me down the street, and I'm running, and she wants to stop me, so I keep running away, trying to sell these houses. That was a one-day business. I was not allowed to do this again. But that was the very first miniature little business. Then, when I was a little bit older, you know, in the late 1990s, there was a euphoria around technology. There maybe still is, certainly, but it was different. It was just different. Like, people gawked at computers the way they may a motorcycle now. Like, man, that is the coolest thing. That is the sexiest thing. I just don't know how to use it. The same way when I think, I don't know how to use it. You might look at an extreme sport, whoa, you know, and just watch it. That's how people felt about computers. There was margin in hardware. You could put a case that was transparent on a computer and, you know, mark it up for $1,000. It was really, there was a lot of discretionary spend being directed into technology. So I was the local computer kid in my parents' home. I wasn't really a computer expert, but, you know, I was the kid. And a lot of my friends were, because we knew more about computers than anybody else. And there was a lot of interest in computers. And I thought, you know, there's all this interest in computers. And I bet there's real business here. So I started basically selling to our neighbors again. This idea of being their turnkey home computer consulting partner. So you wanted to tech your home, you wanted to build a smart home, we'd do it for you. We would put, you know, we'd give you a computer, we'd set up a little station where you could check stock quotes instead of looking at a newspaper. I was 12 when I started this. Yeah. And so, you can check stock quotes. A lot of people want to check recipes. AOL was big at the time. And there was a whole recipe food corner. This was a huge hit. And back then people thought so literally, well, this is my stock computer. This is my recipe computer. Right? You see all these analog, you know, you think of device by use case. And so we'd sell all these different things in. We'd sell Wi-Fi routers in, access points. They could access the internet everywhere. You know, these were the days of like the iPad just coming out through PDA. We partnered with CompUSA as a partner of ours. And eventually, there was a lot more to this story. But Best Buy was getting very interested in the home computer market. And they bought a couple companies, Geek Squad being one of them. And we sold our customers into Best Buy. It was really a seminal moment in my life because, you know, this was just something I did organically. I never thought about it as a business plan or as entrepreneurship.
You didn't have a business plan at age 12?
No, I did not. And then there was another one. I'll make it real quick about this. You know, I also really liked math at the time, and I'd already told you guys I thought money was cool. And my dad used to invest a little. He was much better in his occupation than he was as an investor. But whenever he wanted to invest, he would pull me in, and I would be his computer hyper, basically, just researching different stocks for him and things like that. It looked to me like using computers and math to make money. That's really, you know, I didn't understand finance as a theoretical subject. It just looked like you could use computers and math to make money. So I got really interested. I read everything you possibly could on stocks. And at that time, there was a ton of volatility in the markets. And you had all these derivatives, stock options primarily that I traded, that were priced incorrectly. So you might have an earnings release, or you might have a stock split or some other event, and one leg, a particular option, would be mispriced relative to another option leg. And I wrote a very basic computer program to take advantage of that. Now it's all marked out. There's lots of very professional hedge funds that are doing this. But at the time, you could just, you know, really seize these opportunities. They were thinly traded enough where a big firm didn't dedicate a desk to do it. And that was a lot of fun. So that was my third little mini business. Then I moved more into civics. So we started an organization called Citizen and partnered with Newsweek to build chapters in high schools. And we distributed copies of the magazine, and every other Tuesday morning, students would come in and discuss current events. We started this after 9/11. I was a sophomore then. And so that's, you know, that.
Were you writing as well, or did you recruit?
No, I wasn't writing so much. I just started this local chapter because I was really interested in politics and policy, and a lot of my friends weren't for a long time. And 9/11 happened, and there was a really heightened sense of interest in what was going on. And the subject was now in demand, so to speak. And we sensed that we could start a student group and get people together and talk about these issues. And it worked well. So then we thought, why don't we put this in other high schools? And it happened kind of organically again, just through friends I had in other high schools. And we did a conference, a citizen conference. We got Newsweek as a sponsor.
Wow.